Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Made Simple club meeting. And we do live interviews with experts and leaders in the real estate investing world. And I'm LeAnn Riley, broker and real estate coach nationally. I lead the Encore investment team of realtors in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. And I built a multi-million-dollar portfolio in residential, multifamily, condo development, commercial, and vacation properties. And as a national coach, I help people get started or scale a portfolio without confusion or fear with my proven profit formula coaching program. Check out my YouTube channel too. There's some great education over there. It's just LeAnn Riley Real Estate, and subscribe. And then, I want to introduce someone here too, and that would be Eric Janson. Hi, Eric.
How you doing?
And he's my operations manager here at Real Freedom Now, and he's an expert agent on the Encore investment team. And today is a big day because we're going to do deal reviews and actually open the vault here from my proven profit formula coaching program. And we're going to share with you a really deep dive into knowing your numbers. It's our cash flow analysis spreadsheet, but we're going to show you the deal on the MLS. And then we're going to dig through all the numbers and show you, is it a good deal or is it a bad deal? And isn't that nice to know before you go look at it?
Right.
Okay. So let's see. Oh, Eric, how did we meet? We like to tell this story always.
Well, I guess when we met was when I had attended a training. I was like everybody else on this call, kind of looking into, what it takes to be a real estate investor and how to make that happen. And I went to a training that I was invited to by another person. And I sit down and start going through the training. And this woman's up on stage talking, and it happened to be LeAnn Riley. And I didn't know her at the time. And so I went through the training and didn't actually meet her that day, but she didn't meet me. I guess I met her. And later on, I met her through that individual that invited me to the meeting. So eventually then we worked together, and now we work together on the Encore investment team and everywhere else. So.
Right. And the point of this is we met networking, and you as an investor, networking is key. You need to network with with real estate investment clubs, whoever is the movers and shakers in the area you're investing. You need to know them. And we're the movers and shakers in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, but also nationally with my coaching program. So, okay. Let's move on to the big meeting today, which is our deal review. So here, just so you know how it's going to go, first we'll have a few slides, not a lot, and to just get you going on the numbers. And then we're going to dig into those deals, and stick with us, because at the end of this, we have a free gift. And what that is we will share with you our cash flow analysis worksheet that you can use to figure out properties. And we're going to train you how right now.
All right, we'll get started here. We're going to share screen and go into
Here we are. It's Eric and I ready to do your deal review training. So 90% of the millionaires in the world create wealth by investing in real estate. And I bet that's why you're here. And especially in real estate. Okay, Abby, here we go again. Go back to the first slide. Okay. We don't even need this, do we? She'll put a new cover on the front, but we'll start here. Abby, you figure it out. Okay. Here we are today with our deal review training, and we're going to, I like live better.
Live, you just have to go. You can't stop and start.
Here we are with our deal review training live right now. So 90% of the millionaires in the world create wealth from real estate investing. And I bet that's why you're here. So I want to start with the 7 keys to buying investment property. So the first one is you need to have good financial acumen. And what I mean by that is you need good judgment and you need to be able to make quick decisions in real estate because good deals go fast. That's why this tool is going to really help, because if you can figure out the numbers well enough before you go look, when you look, you'll know, boom, you don't have to go home and figure it all out for 2 days and then it's gone anyway. Right. So good judgment, quick decisions. The other thing you need to know financially is what's your position and how can you use other people's money, the OPM. Are you getting your money from banks in normal traditional mortgages, hard money, partnerships, or maybe it's friends and family? And the big other key about the financials is you better analyze before you look at the property. The numbers are what does it if you're building a portfolio. So the second key here is you need an investor mindset. We're talking up here. You need to be able to manage your investments. I run into tons of people who already own property, but if you don't know the numbers, are you really making money or not? And they say yes. And then I teach them the formula or they run it through this very spreadsheet we're going to share today.
Right.
And guess what? Sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not making as much money as I thought. So if you have investments, you better be managing your investments. You need to build a power team. Whatever market you choose to invest in, you need a really great investment property realtor. And remember, we have the Encore investment team. You need to have the right lender. You need to have a good inspector. And it goes on and on and on if you're going to do some work. So that power team is important for that investor mindset. You also need to learn from your mistakes. We have seen a ton of people who something isn't going right. The tenant isn't leaving or paying or whatever is happening. And this is human nature. We bury our heads in the sand. And the sooner you take care of it, call somebody, figure out what to do. Maybe, you can lose a lot of money fast if you don't handle it.
Right. For sure.
So learn from your mistakes and don't do it that way again. And the last one is networking, which we already talked about. That's how we met in the first place. And number 3 is strategy. Which strategy are you using to invest? What's your reason here? Probably to make money. That's usually what's there, but it's bigger than that. So, there's a why behind it. Is it so you have more time with your kids? There's a lot of whys behind your reason.
Yep.
But you need to pick a strategy. And the 4 most common ones we have listed here are you can buy and hold. That's my favorite. You can buy, fix, do a little value add and rent it out. We like that one. You can fix and flip, buy, fix and sell, or you can buy something that is already been, rented out and the portfolio is operating and you just buy it. So those are the 4 easiest ways. So the next thing, the other part about the strategy, you got to do research, because what's the thing in real estate?
Location.
And guess what? That never goes away. Never. So you need to figure that out for yourself, what works. Do you want to buy close to home where you can drive by? Or are you okay in a better market? Say you're from California or that's a market where it's expensive. You can't buy a duplex there and have it cash flow. Here in the Midwest where we are, you can, and many other places. So what are you going for, cash flow or appreciation? But you got to figure out your location. That's part of your strategy, and both can work. We work with a lot of out-of-town investors.
Yeah, for sure we do.
Yeah, you had a guy never came here.
Yeah, bought a property sight unseen, didn't see it until the inspection. So
yeah. And here's the one we're going to really dive deep into today. Know your numbers. This is critical. You need to know how to analyze your investments. And I'm going to go into only 3 things here. And then when we open up the vault here and work on actual properties, you'll get to see how these apply. So first there's cash flow. Well, that's how much moolah is left over after people pay their rent and you pay your expenses. What's left over? That's your cash flow. And cash on cash, I just want you to know what this means. It's what's left over at the end of the year measured against how much money you put into the investment. So the formula is for cash on cash is your annual cash flow divided by your cash invested. So here's a great example, and you go ahead with the example. We're going to share this particular example today.
Yep. So in this example, you'd buy a duplex for $380,000. You put $95,000 down, which is 25%, which is typical. Maybe you get it at 20, but using a 25% down for this example. And then you have an annual cash flow of $5,000. So after, again, all your expenses are paid, that's what's left over. So 5,000, then divide that by 95,000 is your cash invested. So your annual cash flow, 5,000, cash invested, 95,000 equals 5.25%. And that's
your cash on
cash return. And it's kind of typical of what we're seeing in the market.
5 to 7. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And then there's another number everybody asks about. What about the cap rate? Well, I'm going to tell you what it is, but I see people going by cap rate more in the commercial market than in our 2 to 4 unit residential market. Okay. Remember, 2 to 4 units is a residential loan, 5 and over is a commercial loan. So what the cap rate is, it's the annual NOI or net operating income divided by the cost of the property or the value of the property. And our spreadsheet's going to figure out all these complicated formulas.
Yeah, you don't have to figure
You don't have to figure out any of this.
Don't worry, you don't have to do math.
Right. So the cap return is your projected return for 1 year if you paid cash for the whole property.
Yep.
So again, we have an illustration.
Yep. Same example using that same $380,000 property with a 26,000 in annual NOI. You'd get 26,000 divided by 380,000 equals a cap rate of 6.84%. So that's what your cap rate was. And the NOI, that's basically your, net operating income. It's just before you pay your debt services. So it's before you pay that. That's what's the NOI would be.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Key number 5 out of our 7. I'm going fast because we want to get to the spreadsheet is, I call it the value add magic formula, because really one of the ways to make money in real estate is to buy something, add some value, even if you keep it and rent it, you've you'll have equity there pretty quickly. So what I want you to know, for each $1,000 you put in improvements, it should increase your NOI by at least $200 a year. That's 20% return. So we have our example down there. If you put $6,000, maybe you got the bathroom or do something with the bathroom into a property, and then you raise the rent because you got a decent bathroom, $100 a month. It's going to take you 5 years to get a return on that $6,000. Now, our secret, or that we've seen work really well with rental property, and this is a way better return, is the dishwasher. People want dishwashers. If you buy a property, say it's a duplex and there's not dishwashers on each side, put a dishwasher in. A dishwasher raises the rent $100 a month.
Yep.
And guess what? What'd you pay for the dishwasher?
$500.
Maybe $700 if you had to get it installed from a plumber. Yeah.
It's a pretty good return investment. You get it back in half a year.
Yep. So there's tricks or smart moves, I call it.
Yep.
Okay, here we are. This is what the cash flow analysis looks like. Don't worry, you don't have to squint. We're going to show you the real Excel spreadsheet and walk you through it. Okay. And then just number 6 is, now you've analyzed the property. You have to do some due diligence. Maybe you have it under contract. Just remember, check those numbers again, check and check them again. And I have so many times investors have it all figured out. And then they say, oh, I woke up this morning and I thought of one more thing I forgot to put on there, but it's so easy to put on there and know. And then you can feel comfortable and it's not as big of a risk.
Right.
And so sharpen your pencil. That's the term they use in real estate when they talk about know your numbers, and inspect that property. Definitely not just you, get an inspector. You might not be a furnace person or whatever, and then negotiate around whatever is found. And the last thing is you need to know your exit strategy. You make your money on the buy. If you buy smart and hey, this is a 5-year hold for me. After that, I'm going to sell it anyway, or whatever, is a lot different than buying and saying, I'm keeping this one for 30 years. You need to know your exit strategy because it can affect what you might want to do for adding value. So decide before you buy, what's your plan?
Yeah. And I always say to my clients too, when you're looking to buy a property, when you're looking from an investment standpoint, you're just looking at what I can rent this for and how much my cash flow is and all that. But what I always point out is you got to think about this longer term when you're going to sell it down the road. Is there any issues with the property that are going to cause your buyer pool to be much lower? So you want to make sure you have a nice, good buyer pool, that this is a very sellable product down the line, property down the line. So
right. Here's a great,
easily and fast.
A great illustration of that. I call it an anomaly. Let's say there's power lines in your backyard.
Yep. That's a good example.
Great example. Like that might affect who's buying it on the other end, even if the numbers work. Now, if you're going to keep it 20 years and you want to just get the passive income, you don't really care.
Yeah, it's up to you. But I always want to point that out because that's something, I always think about is like, oh, I'm going to sell this. Is it going to be something that somebody else is going to want to buy? Just because I can buy it now, because no one else is interested in it, doesn't mean it's always a good buy. So.
Okay, now we're going to dig into the numbers. Here we go.
So we're going to stop share for a sec. And then we're going to go into here. So hopefully everybody can see that. Yep. And then we're going to go. So we're going to start out showing you a listing. So you see the listing on the screen here. This is a duplex. This is actually basically this is the example that we used in the PowerPoint with $380,000 to $379,000. And as you can see, this says canceled in this listing. Is there a story behind that, LeAnn?
There is. I sold this duplex to, and what the deal is, I know the agent. We had done some other deals, and I noticed this came up, but I didn't have a buyer that day. And that's how fast property goes, And about a week later, I noticed it came up canceled. So driving down the road one day, I thought, I'm going to call him and see what happened. Well, what happened is, and this happens in rental property, particularly in a robust market, the tenants couldn't handle the volume of showings. Things didn't, they don't want 30 people coming to look at their place, during the day. It's
difficult sometimes even showing property to tenants
to
begin with.
They might work at home too and all of that. So anyway, it didn't go well. So they canceled it until the tenants could be vacated. Now that changes your buyer pool, but we'll just talk about this. Here's the deal. I knew about that. I found the buyer, and I would call this an off-market sale.
Yep, for sure.
So good realtors know how to find those. And we have some.
Yep, for sure. So we'll go through the numbers on this. So for the spreadsheet, we're going to want to know, what are we purchasing it for? We'll use the 379 in this, and then taxes and all that. So you can look through, this is the listing. I don't know if we want to go through the pictures or not. I don't think it matters in this case. We're going to go through the spreadsheet and show you how we would figure out this property through our cash flow analysis. So this is a spreadsheet we use. All the areas that are gray are the areas that you're going to fill in. It says even here on the top, only change the gray filled areas. The other areas that are not gray have formulas in them. So if you start changing that, you'll lose the formula, and that'll cause a lot of problems. So first thing you're going to put up in here is the property address. I don't need to do that right now, but we'll just call it 123 Main Street for now. Then you put in the purchase price, which I already have in here, $379, 25% down. So that's typical what we're seeing. Sometimes you can get 20, but let's say 25.
Unless you own or occupy.
Correct.
And
Yes, very good point.
that would be, if you own or occupy and it's an FHA, you can buy it at 3% down, or otherwise probably 5% down.
Yep.
So that's that's the house hacking strategy. And I think we cover that a little bit.
We have an
in
example
here.
if we can get to that. Yeah. So 25% down, 6.5%. We're just going to assume for the interest rates. That'd be the one thing you change here. So again, when your lender is giving you for interest rate, you put that in. Then we move over to the category over here. We'll move over to this box over here. And this is utilities owners pay. So this is going to be any of the utilities that the owners are going to pay for this particular property. So with it being a duplex, you might have to pay all these. So we're going to have to go back to the listing and check what utilities we would have to pay. And in this case, I don't really need to go through the details. Let you know, we don't pay anything. It's all the utilities are split. So all these end up being zero, which is nice. So that ends up being zero. Now you populate it in here, and what happens is it automatically fills over here. So the utility category fills electric and heat, and the water and trash fills these. So if I put in a number here, just to show you quick, it'll add it to there. So, all right. So that ends that. So that you don't have to do any math. You just put them in. The other categories here to fill out in gray are your rents. This is your total monthly rents. And in this case, we're looking at $2,900. Now I say $2,900, even though in the listing, it says $1,345. So where did I get the $2,900? It's $1,450 per side. And where I got that is we did some investigating on what this property would rent for. Now, when we look at what something will rent for, we look at a lot of different places. We'll look at a website called Rentometer. We'll look at Zillow and see what's active. We'll look at Craigslist to see what's active. And we may even, in this case, we did look at other properties. You can do that, especially with a multifamily, other properties that are for sale or that have recently sold, and what did they have their rents at? So you want to do that because the $1,345 was old rents. So what does it rent for in today's market? So that's where we came up with the $1,450.
And we're conservative at $1,450. I just want you to know the way we fill out these spreadsheets is on the conservative lean, which helps you to, there's a little leeway here for you to even make more money. We're doing the conservative $1,450. Maybe you can rent it for $1,495.
Which is what he's probably going to try to rent.
Yeah, he'll start at that.
So, and then vacancy rate, we put in we have 5% in here. You can change this. Your bank obviously is going to want to see that. I don't know if you have any more feedback.
Yeah, I'll say about that. Right now, the vacancy rate here in the Twin Cities is 3%, but we're not going to go with that. We're going with 5. That's usually what the bank probably will look at right now. But if times changed in the market, you might have to raise that. That's why it's gray. I've seen it 10% for a lot of years. But right now it's not. Everybody, rentals are a good market to be in.
Yep.
There's not enough housing, period.
Right, for sure. 100%. So real estate taxes would be the next gray to fill in here, and you can get that off a listing, or you can get that from Zillow or look on the tax records. Here it's 52 or 42.67, I should say. So 42.67. I'll put that in there. Then the next ones are association fees. Well, this doesn't have an HOA. It's a duplex. So you don't have to put anything in there. You put in the monthly amount in this gray box. Property management, if you were going to property management, you'd put in the percentage of the fee that they charge per month in here, and it would calculate that.
And that's generally 8 to 10%,
Correct.
Depending.
Yep. He's going to self-manage, so we'll leave that blank. Maintenance and repairs. This property is actually, we know it's in pretty good shape, but this is where we put maintenance and repairs, and any capital expenditures you would want to put would go in this category here.
Right. So, and when I don't, if you're doing a $30,000 remod, it doesn't go there, just so you know.
Right.
But if you want to put $40 a month in for CapEx, savings, kind of reserve, correct, that's where you would add that in here.
So I'm going to put in 1,000. That might be even high, but I'll keep.
Yeah, this is in great shape.
Yep. So, and then snow and lawn removal.
We live in Minnesota.
Originally had 500 in here.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what we had. Yep. So snow and lawn removal. We live in Minnesota, correct? But the tenants were doing that in this particular case.
In a duplex, you put it in their leases. They have to handle it.
So that goes to 0. So in the end, this, yep, matches up. So this is what we have. So before we go further down, I think it would be a good idea maybe to go through all these numbers, just kind of touch on them, right, LeAnn, as far as what everything else is in here that you don't actually change, but what do these other numbers mean?
Yep. Okay. So we just had our purchase price minus our, down payment.
Yep, there's our down payment amount.
Yep. Then we have our loan is 284, and over to the right is the principal and interest. So the monthly payment is 1796 for 30 years, right below it.
Yep, that's the months.
He had the interest rate. Then you have your land value, your personal property value, and your building value, and your total depreciation. These are formula items based on your purchase price. And then you have your depreciation. Appliances and that kind of stuff can be depreciated over 5 years. That's that number on the top. And the rest of it, not the land, but the building gets depreciated. So we'll talk about that later in the taxes.
Total depreciation is here, 17,916.
Yep. Then he had his annual rent, and the formula did that.
Yep. And then
his vacancy rate. So really his gross operating income in this property is $33,060.
Yep. And then all of this factors in.
Right. Now, what about the insurance? I think you forgot to do that one.
Oh yeah, the insurance. So basically the insurance is created. We have a formula for that. That's this gray box over here. So for your insurance, if it's a non-HOA, the insurance is going to be higher. So we do a factor of 0.6% of the purchase price. So that gives you your total here. If it's an HOA, we're doing 0.2% of the purchase price. So you just change this to 0.2% or 0.6%, depending on whether or not you have an HOA. The reason that HOA is because the HOA will cover some of the outside expenditures and some of the insurance costs. So your insurance is usually cheaper out. Well, it is cheaper with a HOA. So then you get your total annual operating expenses from all this in these boxes of 7,000. So then what's this number?
That is the ratio, a 21% operating expense ratio on a duplex is not too bad, at all.
So that's this number here, but you're, divided by your gross.
Yes. And here's the big win in this one, it's a side by side. I think it was built in 83. Something like that. The side by side duplexes a newer one will have separate meters. If it's an up down, we have old property here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and maybe it's built in the 1900s. Guess what? It's probably going to have one water meter, and it's going to maybe only have one furnace.
Right.
Then you end up with a much higher expense ratio because you've got to pay that.
And you're going to put all these factors in.
Yep. And if that's happening and you're paying the heat and the water, hopefully you can get a higher rent to compensate.
Now we want to analyze the benefits here. So we're looking at gross operating income, which is what was up here. Your operating expenses, which was here, and then you subtract those and you get your net operating income, which we talked about earlier.
Your NOI. Yep.
And it's minus your debt service. So your debt service is
your payments every month. Payments
times 12. And then once you subtract those two, then you get your cash flow annually.
That's our magic number right there. This is making money after you pay for everything, owning this property right here. It's $4,459 a year, which is, we have it to the right.
Yep. This is your monthly cash flow right here. Sorry. Monthly cash flow is $371.60 minus all the expenses and all your debt service and everything else. So,
right. Then we go into some tax type of information here on the spreadsheet. Move it down a little. So there we're into
so your tax flow before taxes, and then your interest. So your debt service, I should say, this is your tax flow. The debt service is $21,599, and then your interest is 18. So the difference is 3,000. That's a principal reduction.
How much your principal goes down. And then we have, this is some depreciation. We're just showing it again down here and how it affects your tax situation. And then we put on here the current tax brackets. What happens if you push that button? Does it work?
So, yep. So your tax brackets are based on your income. So if you go on this link and click on here, so it'll bring you to a website that shows the tax brackets currently of 2022. So each of these in here, so it depends on how you filed your taxes and then how much money you made. that'll give you your tax rate. And that percentage then, we're using 24% in the example, but that percentage then, if we go back to the spreadsheet, is what you would put in this box here.
Yep.
And that'll help factor when you do all this. Well, you don't have to do it.
So
when the spreadsheet does all this math for you, it'll tell you what you're going to make from taxes or basically save for taxes for the year.
Person will save about $2,400 on their taxes. And remember, some people buy real estate as a tax. It helps them write their income down.
Yep.
Then finally, we're down to those numbers we talked about in the presentation.
First, we got to go through appreciation.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got appreciation here, and you can change this. We have this as a field you can change. We have it at 5% right now. Some markets you see higher than that, some you see lower. So, but
average appreciation right at this minute as we're taping this is 8 to 10% here in the Twin Cities. But again, remember I said we're conservative.
Yep.
So we put 5%.
So then this is your money to be made for the year. Your 4,000, 3,000, 2,500, 18. That's basically what you're looking at gaining from your investment. I guess you wouldn't make it because you didn't sell.
It's not in the bank. It's equity.
But it's there. It's a potential. So then you go down to the numbers that we talked about. So
let's talk about, there's that cap rate. It figured it out for you, 6.87 on this particular one. It figured out your cash on cash formula. Over on the other side, it actually figured out something called ROI, your rate of return on your investment before appreciation and after appreciation. And the last number at the bottom is your debt service coverage ratio. And banks probably won't lend you money if it's 1% or less, if they're lending you money by the numbers of how the asset performs. That's commercial loans. They are based on the asset. Residential loans are based on the person's credit and all of that kind of thing. That's the difference. Yep. So isn't it great that it figures out all the numbers for you?
Do all the math.
And you can go through and fill out these gray boxes really fast. We're going to show you another property here.
But before we do that quick, I'll just show you when you can request this. When you get this, you actually would have a definitions on the second page. So if you go through this, I'm not going to go through it, but you can read through this and it'll give you the definitions of what the terms mean on the other page.
So this is what we're going to send you for free to be able to use if you request it after this presentation, and we'll tell you how. Yep. That's our bonus.
Okay, so we're going to go through another property to show you an example. So that last property we showed you had cash flow 371. The next one we're going to show you is a townhouse. So fairly inexpensive townhouse. So if you're a beginner, this could be one that you could potentially look at getting into now.
Yes. And I sometimes beginner investors who maybe you're not sure if this is for you, or you just want to sort of get started with something maybe a little easier. Townhouses are really great because you don't have to worry about exteriors. The exchange is you have to be concerned about the homeowners association and where they're at. And what you want to be concerned about there is, do they have enough reserve in case the building needs siding? And I have the horror story in that I live in a townhouse. I knew when I bought it, because I'm overlooking the creek in the woods and everything, I knew the siding was old and I knew they didn't have enough in reserve, but I didn't care. I put it in my budget as a CapEx that I'm going to have to pay for whatever my share is. And guess what? I got brand new siding and it was $35,000 my share. It still raised the value by 35. So, but I had to take it out of my pocket.
Okay. So looking at this property,
let's look real fast at the pictures.
Okay. So we'll look at the pictures.
Just so you can see, this is a townhouse.
This is a townhouse. It's active, available now. So it's in rentable shape. I mean, it's older appliances stuff, but if everything's functioning, which I assume it is, then it's good to go. 1-car garage, got the
new
flooring.
LVP floor.
So,
carpet looks pretty good.
Looks decent. Some
could use a little landscaping.
Shrubs in the front a little bit there, but otherwise
faster.
It looks pretty decent.
Yeah. Looks pretty good, right? Ready to roll. You
Yep.
that's rentable for sure. There, they virtual staged it. Wait, the next one has it. Keep going. There, that's virtual staging, folks. That's what it looks like.
Yep.
No real furniture in there.
All
But
right. So
yeah.
that's the pictures of it. So it's on the market listed for 184.9. So let's put it in the spreadsheet and see if this may be a deal. Or
Yeah.
not.
Should we go over and
So again, property address, we're going to leave as 123 Main Street in this case. We're going to put the purchase price of 184.9 in. I'm going to leave it at 25%, assuming that, and I'm going to leave the 6.5% alone as well. Utilities, we don't have to put anything in here because it's a townhouse. There's no other unit. So basically the tenant can pay all of this stuff. And then even the association might pay water or something possibly as well. For rent, I'll let you know, we're going to put 1,600 in here for rent.
we did that research he was
you can
talking
look at the
about.
research. I looked at a lot of different things for rent. There were some that were around 1,700, but I want to be a little bit more conservative at 1,600 for rent because those units looked a little nicer than this one. So 5% vacancy rate. So if you did some improvements, you might be able to get more rent is actually what I'm saying too. Now taxes, let's go to taxes. That's 1,634. So 1,634. Association fee, we do have an association here. Well, monthly association due. So that's down here, 175 a month for the association. So put that in here. That's automatically going to calculate. Again, property management. Let's say you property manage it yourself, since it's a duplex, or not duplex, but a townhouse. Townhouses typically don't need a ton of stuff for maintenance and repairs because, again, the outside and stuff is taken care of by the association. So we'll assume 500. And then the nice thing about townhouses is they take care of the lawn and they take care of the snow. So you don't have to worry about that either. Now we do have to change this for the purpose of the association for the insurance.
This
So
is something people might not know. Townhouse
Yeah.
insurance is cheap as an investor because really the association has a overriding umbrella policy and then you just have to cover your unit.
Yep. Yeah. So that's why we have the change in here for the HOAs that, like they said, like she said, they cover some of that. So it definitely reduces that cost
A lot to 369.
So we end up with a cash flow of 259.83. Now, is that a deal or is that not a deal? Well, it depends on you as an investor. You know, we can look down at the numbers here as well. The cash on cash is 6.75. So it's better than the duplex we showed you before. And the cap rate is better than the duplex, as is the returns. But the cash flow is less. The other example we showed was 371. So
how much did you put out though on this one?
You put 46,000 into this.
Half of that other one.
Put half into it. You're going to get 259 a month in cash flow. So is it a good deal? Depends on, you know, kind of what you're looking for. Now, if you're a person that says, I'm not buying anything unless it's, you know, 10% here or $300 a month in cash flow or whatever that is, well, guess what you can do with this spreadsheet? You can change the numbers and figure out what you want to offer.
So change that
So,
to 175.
let's
I
see
mean,
if we go
I
to
don't know if you can
175.
get it at 175.
175, you're at 308. Maybe that's where you want to be. Now, could you get that with this property? Maybe not.
Maybe not,
But at
because
least it gives you the idea of where to go with your number.
here's one thing about this property. Go back to the listing, would you?
Yep.
This property came across our desk just yesterday. It was, notice the original list price up there at the top. It was $199 and it went down yesterday, $15,000. Now that says to me, somebody's anxious to sell it. Maybe they already bought a new house or who
Right.
knows what.
There's motivation there.
Yeah,
for sure.
not that you can get it for 175, but who knows? Cash always talks. You never
True.
know. You know,
Yeah, if you came in with cash on this, you could refinance it later, but the cash could get you the property at a potentially lower price than this.
yeah.
So
there, do you see how much these numbers make a difference though? It helps you know what your parameters are. How, you know, what am I okay at? Lots of people are really fine at 239 as long as you're in a nice appreciating area.
right. Yep. All right. We got one more example, and this one is for potentially anybody out there that wants to potentially house hack. There's some opportunity.
Okay, house
potentially with this
hacking
one.
is when you
So,
buy it with that owner occupied mortgage. So let's say 5% down. You live in it and you either have roommates or something like that. Now, we found a property. These are all boom, right on the market, easy to find. You got to have a good realtor who knows how to find stuff. So we found a property that we think might be a good house hack. And here it is. It's 359.
so it's in Bloomington, it's 359. It's been on the market for 41 days. So it's been on the market a little while. And it needs, we'll go through the pictures and show you what it looks like. So it's the outside. This is actually the main living area when you walk in. More pictures of that main living area. Another picture, just a different angle. This is when you walk in the front door, you got a foyer with a closet there and you can go upstairs. This is actually a picture of the upstairs, and we'll kind of scan through. So overall, it's in decent shape. You got this thing in the middle, which is a little, most people aren't going to like that, but
you could paint it white.
Looks
there's a lot
good.
of things you could do with that brick.
Yep. So kind of going through, maybe some light fixtures can be changed out. And this is a master bedroom. That's a really big master bedroom with a walkout onto the deck, which is really nice. And you got his and hers closets, and you got a master bath over here. So this is a nice big room with a jacuzzi tub. And then there's a shower around the corner as well. So then you got this cool lighting up here too. So big, nice room. Here's the other room, another room. So there's 3 bedrooms on the main level, and then a full extra bath on the main level. So that's the property. What I want to get to is show you, here's another bathroom, the layout. So this is what we're talking about, a house hack. So how can we make this a house hack, LeAnn?
Well, okay. Now this is the front door over here on the bottom right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And because this is built on a hill, you got to realize you're coming in on the lower level and going up. So over to the right, we have the garage. That's the garage door. So there's 2 ways to house hack this, but we'll talk about, we see potential in this lower level. So the foyer would be common area for both parties because guests could come in the front door. And then if you go over here into the rec room, that's the lower level. We're going to call it a mini apartment. Mm-hmm. That could be their bedroom or their living room. It's large. Look at that, 18.4x9. Mm-hmm. What we see as the potential here, they still got a fireplace, is to right there where the little thumb is to put a doorway into that storage area, 13x10, which could become a bedroom, or it also could become a mini kitchen over there on the right-hand side, right there where he's pointing. That could be a mini kitchen bar. And nowadays, all you need is a fridge, some cabinetry up above. And if you have a microwave and maybe an air fryer and maybe there's a hot plate or whatever, that is good to go. Maybe you're house hacking, you buy this house and you live down there. At least you get to live alone and you don't have roommates. You got your own apartment. There is a bathroom already here. And the reason why we chose the kitchen there is there's already water. It's easy to work around that little half wall and somehow integrate things. Maybe you can cut that wall into a half wall and keep that sink there and make the kitchen that little area, you see. The other thing you could do is put your bed in that rec room area somehow. So there's potential with this layout to make an apartment with actually a bedroom down there.
Right. And you could, one thing I was thinking of just now is you could make this all the kitchen, but I had been in this house and there's a drain right here. So it'd be kind of hard to do that.
Isn't that where the washer and dryer?
That's where the washer and dryer would typically go, but you could put a stackable here and make your kitchen maybe right here, but there is a drain and the floor goes down a little bit right there. So, but there's opportunity there. The other thing to point out, so here's the layout of the upstairs. You got the 3 nice bedrooms and bathroom and all that. What I was also thinking is there a way to put a washer and dryer upstairs so that keeps the 2 units separate? So if you had a way to cut these units off, with a door somewhere or something, maybe this is your entrance for this unit and this door closes, and then both people come in here, go up the stairs, and this is how you get into the other unit. That's could be an option. But is there a place to put the washer and dryer here? I thought maybe here. It is pretty tight. I don't know if it would fit, but that's one thought. Another thought would be maybe in here, but then you have to come in the master bedroom. But there is potential options then for putting in that as well, or you just don't have a washer and dryer and you guys share it. So, it depends on who's staying there. So there is an opportunity here. You could live up here too and rent the downstairs.
Right.
That's
So
another option.
the mostly for house hacking, what we do is you might have a single person usually is who house hacks, or a couple, because then they can live in one area or have the roommates. But this particular outfit works for, what if you had a family with a couple kids, you live upstairs and then you redo that lower level and you can get a good chunk of your mortgage paid. We're going to show you how on the spreadsheet.
Yep. So we'll go back to the spreadsheet and we're first going to just fill out the spreadsheet like you would and see what the numbers look like. So go back to the spreadsheet. So in this particular case, we're going to go quick this off. So we're at 359. So let's say you paid the full price. I would say at this point, being 41 days on the market, we're going to be able to get it for less than that. But let's just go with the 359. 25% down.
Nope, 5% down.
Oh,
because we're living in it.
Well, let's do the 25% down first, and then we can.
Okay, then we'll change.
25% down, 6.5%. The rent on a 3-bedroom I had at 2,200. That's based on, again, what we've talked about already. As far as the research goes, the taxes are 3583. So put that in 3580. Oops, 3583. Homeowners Association. There isn't anything. We're going to see the property management alone. We're going to go 0.6% back to that. Snow and lawn removal, if you're not living there and somebody's going to have to do it, so you might need charge for that. You might need.
That's high, snow and lawn, maybe 700.
Okay, we'll go 700.
Yeah, he's got an expensive plow guy.
Yep, I do. So, okay. So negative 231. So the numbers don't work if it's a traditional rental at this point in time. But if you're going to house hack this, then maybe they would work better for you.
Let's try.
So we'll put it in, we'll say 5% down, and you can't get an FHA loan on this one, just so you know, the back deck needs a railing. So, and they're not willing to put it in. So
5%.
So 5% down. And then, where would we go with that? So you got rent is, are we going to rent the upstairs?
Oh, we're going to rent the upstairs and we're going to live downstairs. So the upstairs, what can we rent it for? Maybe 1,800?
Yeah, it'd probably be a little less.
1,700.
Let's go 1,800. And then you're going to do the snow and lawn, so you don't need that. You still need something for maintenance. So in the end, it's the you got to kind of ignore the cash flow number. It's really as far as what are you paying for the property and how much are you getting in rent. So it's a little different way to look at it.
So your payment is $2,000.
Payment is $2,155, and you only had to put 18 grand into this too, by the way. Payment is $2,155. You're going to get 1,800, so you'll be paying like $355 there. Plus, let's say 300 for taxes, you're at 655, and then maybe you set aside $80 or so for maintenance. So,
insurance.
And your insurance, which is 200. So you're at $900 a month to live.
So maybe for $1,000 a month, you get to live there, own this, and start to build a portfolio.
Right.
You live there a year and then you can go do it again with 5% down. That's the house hacking strategy.
Right. And this particular property, I would try to get it for less to make the numbers a little bit better than this, but there is an opportunity here at the right price.
Yep.
So, yep.
Are you back to us? Or?
We are back to us.
All right.
All right.
So we've just taught you a couple of ways, and hopefully we went through it enough. You can figure this out. It's pretty darn easy with the gray boxes.
Yep.
And
so now we want to go through and tell them how they get it.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll share screen again. And we got to go to that slide.
Okay. He's finding it. This is part of the Proven Profit Formula coaching program. As I said,
there we go.
This is a big piece. So we have a bonus for you who've watched this and who are part of the club. And what we're going to do is share this with you. And the other thing that's always available is a free strategy session. And do you have a different slide for that?
Yep.
Okay. So if you want a free strategy session with me, you go to getleannshelp.com. And then there's kind of some choices there. If you're going to buy, sell, invest, it's a different kind of strategy session than talking coaching. So that's always available. Now go back to the bonus other slide. What we want you to do right now is you have to email support@leannriley.com. That goes to Eric.
Yep.
And then we will be sending that out in the Excel format for you to be able to use. So when you get that, remember, save it as a template, call it template, because that way, if you go in, put an address and muck it up, you always have the template because you don't want to mess up those
formulas.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're really excited to share this with you. And like I said, it's, okay. One more thing.
Just so you know me.
Yeah.
So there's me, there's my contact information. If you want to get a hold of me, my phone number and email address, eric@encoreinvestmentteam.com. All right.
Great. So we will see you next time with some more great education, right?
Sounds good. Take care.